good evening, everyone. Meteorologist Jacob Dickey here. Seth also standing by. Kevin's in the storm tracker now. We got a lot to talk about, so we wanted to jump on Facebook here. 7:21, the current time here, and so we thought it would be appropriate to jump on. We got a couple of things here. First off, dust storm. We'll talk about that. We also are going to talk about the severe weather threat. This is a current look at radar right now. Some clusters of storms out there to our west. That tornado watch close to our area here. And so certainly we're going to be watching things pretty closely over the next couple of hours to determine what is going on with that. I want to make sure that you can hear that some saying the volume is low. So why don't I just turn that up a little bit, see if that maybe helps a bit more. And Seth, I'll turn yours up just a little bit too. We can see how it's going. Perhaps that helps a little bit more. Looks like it's helping on my end a little bit. Let me know where you're watching from as well. If you have questions, we're going to answer these questions coming out here in just a bit as we talk about two things. But we do appreciate seeing where you're checking in from. That's always really nice. We know we've got viewers not only in Central Illinois, but all across the area. And so that is how things will roll. All right, with me now in the studio, hey Seth, we're bringing you on now. Folks are checking in from all over Central Illinois, and we've had things kind of escalate a little bit. You're here at 4 o'clock with some of that the dust storm warnings coming on in. I know some folks in the comments are saying, hey, there's been dust where I am as well. Why don't you go ahead and talk to us first, cover the dust storm warning, cover some of that information, and then we'll move on from there. And so, yeah, Seth, take it away.
Sure can do, Jacob. Appreciate it. So we're just going to kind of give an overview on things. We had what started as a dust advisory kind of earlier in the day. I believe that was sometime maybe around 4:30. That since has been upgraded to a dust storm warning. Essentially the same kind of thing with a watch to a warning. We're kind of you were advised to watch out for maybe some of that blowing dust. Now you're being warned that it's being seen all over the place and that you need to basically treat it as if there is some active blowing dust no matter where you are at here in these highlighted zones. That will include portions of Logan, McLean, DeWitt, Macon, Piatt, Champaign, and Vermilion counties. You can see it's kind of hugging Interstate 74 and even parts of I-72 as well. So kind of that's the reason, you know, those major roadways, we want to definitely make sure that we are highlighting those spots there if some of that dust is blowing around. That goes until 8:15, so got about an hour to go on that one. The actual original warning on that was extended, so we'll see if they decide to extend it as we get closer to that deadline. But for the moment, 8:15 is when that expires. So how can we get blowing dust when we've had plenty of rain so far this spring? It feels like there's been chances for rain every other day. Well, no matter how much it rains, if things are super hot like they were today, you're going to kind of dry up that topsoil, and that's going to really let that dust kind of blow away. These were your observed high temperatures from today. It got to 93 in Champaign, 91 in Springfield, 90 in Taylorville. So basically, even if that dirt was kind of on the wetter side of things there for a moment, it just dried up so quickly in that intense heat and kind of just made it very grainy in substance there. And it's just being carried away here by the southern gust, anywhere between 25 even up to 45 miles an hour in places. And notice in particular this pink zone here around I-74, I-72. That's where your gusts are their strongest right now. So it's very easy just to pick up that tiny, fine little dust and kind of send it flying around all over the place. Here is the Memorial Stadium camera. You can see State Farm Center right here, just kind of the dome at the very bottom of the picture. We're kind of zooming out in the distance there, looking down to the south. And you can see, you can try your best to see, even though the camera's shaking, some of the reduced visibility out there on the horizon. So that's kind of what we're seeing at the moment. It's better in some places than others, but you can really see that camera rocking around. Things are very, very windy right now. Let's just take a look at what some viewers have seen in the area throughout the course of the day. This was near the Argenta Blacktop on Route 10. You can see near zero visibility there as that car basically just going to vanish out of sight. That's kind of one of the first videos that we saw earlier in the day that kind of made things, kind of accelerated things, kind of made us start to take this really seriously, because if that's the visibility that we have, that is not very good. This one was sent by Cam Crosby. This is west of Mount Pulaski. Looking out of the windshield there, can barely see anything, maybe a couple of power lines here and there, but overall, can't really see much at all. Another windshield shot here out of the Mount Pulaski area from Chris Stroud, Route 54 east of town there. Another photo coming on in here in just a moment. We got I-74 at Leroy from Patty. Again, just kind of looks like, even though it was a sunny day outside, you get in this dust, things just turn awfully orange, maybe even a little green in spots, so it really, really hinders your ability to see much going on. And of course, in those open fields with those wind turbines, dust just kind of floating around wherever it pleases. We see this a lot out on the plains. plains, the southern plains, where it's dry all the time. We don't see that often here in central Illinois, but we might need to start getting used to it. It feels like we've seen this a lot here in the last year. And this final photo here from the Catlin Homer Road. This was sent in by Joyce. Again, you can barely see anything out that windshield. So the best advice we can give you is if you don't have to be anywhere, just don't go anywhere if you're highlighted in those zones for that dust storm warning. The safest plan you can have is just staying out of those dust storms. But if you do happen to be out there driving and you find yourself in that dust storm, the best advice we can give you is pull off the road as much as you can. If you can actually get all the way off the pavement, that's the best way to do it. Don't have your lights actually on. If you can, turn them off. And there's even some advice to put on your emergency brakes. That way your brake lights aren't on if you have your foot on the brake. So that way people don't see you and try to follow you since you're off the side of the road. If you cannot pull over there, if it's not safe to do so, if you've got cars behind you, in front of you, the best thing you can do is just reduce your speed and try to keep your distance between the person behind you, the person in front of you. And if you absolutely must there, you can even just give an occasional honk so that way people can kind of hear where you're at. They're very tricky to navigate. They aren't very widespread, so usually those dust storms don't take too long to get on through. But that's pretty much the best advice we can give you. Hopefully, if some rain arrives soon, can kind of calm that dust down, kind of moisten things up. But we're not entirely sure how widespread the rain is going to be. Jacob, you want to walk the folks through what we're possibly seeing with the forecast for the rest of the night?
Yeah, we can do that here. And first off, real quick, Seth, I'll come back to you in a quick minute here. If you're looking for more information, our WCIA3 news app. We have a news app and a weather app. This is the news app right now. That top story has more on that dust storm warning. There's some information there and things of that. And then also next down here, the Weather Now article. Seth, I know you put in some information there talking just about that, in fact, where you said, hey, what do we do when you pull off to the side of the road? Lots of questions saying, really, like, why would I do that? But again, how many times, Seth, you've been driving when it's in rain and it's really heavy rain, you're looking for the lights in the car in front of you to stay on the road, aren't you?
Right, yeah, that's exactly what I would do, because I would assume if the person in front of me is managing to stay on the road, I should get right behind them, because if I can barely see the pavement in front of me, I got to follow something. So yeah, that's exactly why you want to have those lights off, because you don't want to be followed. That's exactly right.
Yeah, and then the other thing, you might have said it, did we have road closures? Did we talk about that?
I don't believe I touched up on it. I wasn't sure what the active ones were. I knew we had some of them earlier in the day. Do you have anything new on that you personally have? I know we had I-55 and 74 south of Bloomington was closed for a little bit. Outside of Farmer City was closed for a little while. To my knowledge, those were the only ones I knew for sure.
Yeah, so we had Farmer City to Leroy still closed as of last check here. And traffic's a nightmare. I had a message from Farmer City. There's not the four-way stop. It's just traffic left, right, up, and down. Police trying to move people through. We got a whole interstate. And then not only that, southwest on 55, they're still closed as well from McLean to Bloomington. So if you're trying to get anywhere from here in central Illinois off to the north and west, or you're coming from Bloomington trying to go south, US 51 is your best option. But there are other places as well. We had that crash confirmed on Route 54. You talked to the DeWitt County EMA, the ESDA office, I guess. What did they say about that?
So they said there was what appeared to be a 5-car pileup, I believe it was between Mount Pulaski and Chestnut was what I was told. They didn't have any reports on the injuries at the time. They kind of just sounded like they were initially getting to what exactly had happened. But yeah, a 5-car pileup between Mount Pulaski and Chestnut. Last check. Unsure on the injuries on that one, but obviously causing quite a few problems even deeper into the night. Even if the dust was more widespread earlier, it doesn't take more than just a little bit of dust to cause some problems.
Yeah, and when you talk about crash like that, obviously we've dealt with problems like that with dust storms in the last year. So the memory goes back to the horrible dust storm south of Springfield, and then earlier this spring we had west of Springfield some problems, and now we're seeing problems in those areas here with that graphic. And one thing as well, some of you who are watching may have been watching the newscast at 6 o'clock. And if you noticed during my weather, my phone went off. Wireless emergency alerts. I reached my hand in my pocket real quick and trying to turn that off here. So your wireless emergency alert went off for the dust storm warning. It goes off traditionally, tornado warning. You get that loud, annoying sound, tornado warning, a tornado emergency, a flash flood emergency. It will sound your phone. The extreme wind warning, blizzard warning, ice storm warning gets the wireless emergency alerts. Severe thunderstorm warnings, July 2021, they added the catastrophic tag for, is that the correct tag, or is it?
I believe so.
The upper end. You get 80 mile per hour winds, or you get greater than baseball size hail, your severe thunderstorm warning will go off. That's for things like the derecho that came through last summer. That's what you get for that. And then dust storm warnings. So a lot of your phones went off. Mine did in the middle of the weather hit. I had it in my pocket. My watch was buzzing at me. And the reason for that, maybe some of you are sitting at home and you're like, not much is happening here. But for some folks, driving, wireless emergency alert as soon as they head into that warned area. And we showed you that alert graphic earlier of that dust storm warning. Let's say you're on Interstate 74 coming from Indianapolis. Once you hit Vermilion County, your phone goes off about the dust storm warning. That's for people who are traveling through, getting notification, getting alert. And they upgraded that again. You think about the sun going down, the reduction in visibility there, and so that certainly is one of those issues with that. And so that went off, kind of here at the station. We were like, oh, you know, what's going on? And that's kind of what it was, is that wireless emergency alert. So Seth, I'm bringing you back on real quick. Do you have anything else to add about the dust-related things before we move on to severe weather?
Yes, I do. It looks like our news team actually just sent out an alert on the phone just a moment ago updating about that Route 54 crash. It said there was a several-car pileup on Illinois Route 54 in Logan County. Illinois State Police confirmed. Happened at 2000 Avenue near 5:45 p.m. Crash comes as dust impacts the area, and state police say several people were hurt in the accident and taken to area hospitals. Said ISP is currently on scene and have no further information at this time. So it does sound like there were a few injuries out of that same Route 54 accident we had just a moment ago, and they do confirm that was likely due to the dust storms in the area. So got an update on that. Again, that just got published to the app and to the web less than a minute ago. So for the entire details on that, you can head on over there and check out what's going on as far as that current accident is concerned.
Okay, so again, several injuries. We did not hear anything about any fatalities yet or at all?
Nothing confirmed yet, not from what we've heard here in the newsroom, it looks like, according to our article there.
Okay, that's some good news. I'm happy to hear that step overall. But sometimes in these situations, you don't really know. And again, you think about the sun going down. You know, I was in Hoopston earlier today doing a story this afternoon, and on our way back, we could see the dust blowing, Seth. I mean, you can see it during the daytime. Once the sun goes down, all of a sudden you kind of drive into it. And so if that wind continues, that may be an issue for a while longer. So we'll see at 8:15 or so if they extend that dust storm warning. I don't know about you, Seth, but I tend to think that might be a possibility, right?
Yeah, definitely, especially if the rain's not here yet. It looks like it could be here by then, but if it starts to the west, goes to the east, it's obviously not going to be raining in Danville at 8 o'clock, so we might still see continuation out in that direction. But yeah, like you said, when the sun goes down, it kind of almost turns into kind of a fog situation. Your headlights are going to kind of make things worse. It's just going to be kind of hard to navigate through that. So yeah, I definitely wouldn't be shocked to at least see the eastern half of that warning get pushed back for a little more time.
Yeah, and then you think too, we're just in a vulnerable time of year. I mean, no fault of their own. Farmers are getting ready for planting and getting crops in, and those crops take some time to sprout. And you get strong winds, some of that silt. You get those temperatures, like you were saying, Seth. Certainly, that's what's causing it. Thank you for your expertise with that, Seth.
Of course.
We are going to switch now to talk about severe weather. We've been watching that all day, haven't we, Seth? You've got a little bit of the radar behind you. You want to tell me a little bit about what you're seeing?
Yeah, I just was going to kind of step through a couple things here as we head into the forecast a little bit. Just got the radar popped up here. We kind of mentioned that there was a chance we could kind of get out of this event unscathed. Not saying that we're going to, but just kind of looking here at the radar. You see a lot of these powerful storms up there in north and northwest Illinois, kind of there northern Missouri, southeastern Iowa, and then kind of another cluster down here in central Missouri. But you notice, based on the trajectory of some of these, maybe this system kind of comes on in, affects areas south of I-72, but we kind of got that northern half that maybe is just a little blank at the moment, kind of seeing that with some of our future tracks. And I kind of talked about this a little bit during the 4 o'clock show. I'll skip to that graphic here real quick and just kind of talk about that. This event does have a high ceiling, as we're seeing off to the west, but it's also got a very low floor, and that's kind of what we're kind of suggesting could happen here. Most of the area is at risk, but the floor on this one, like I said, if we split the gap, maybe just some rain, some thunder, and just maybe some slight winds, and that's kind of what we end up with. Looks like that one cluster might get down there to around the I-70 area. That might be what we see more. But the ceiling is pretty high, like we saw there on the warnings page. There's a lot of storms tagged for 70 or even 80-mile-an-hour winds, so that's what we could see. But right now, we might be kind of getting somewhere in the middle here where we're not going to get it quite as bad as we thought we would, but we might kind of have a cluster of storms that is still going to bring us mainly some windy conditions. The tornado threat's there, but it kind of rapidly decreases as we move on to the east. So that's what we're watching over the next couple of hours. The timing on everything was kind of after 7 p.m. Here we are, about 7:30. Not seeing too much in the area yet, but maybe in the next half hour or so, it looks like some stuff could be knocking on our door off there to the west. Would you agree with that so far, Jacob?
Yeah. So thanks for that, Seth. Again, we're kind of analyzing it. I'll put you back on real quick here. The severe threat. Seth is going to be here with me through the night, and we're going to keep an eye on things. And Kevin is out in the field. We're going to come to him in just a minute from now here. So we'll hear from him. He's been out kind of watching things, but I liked that graphic, Seth, that you kind of explained where there's a floor here, there's a ceiling here. We might end up somewhere in the middle, but maybe we're leaning more towards that floor, which would be a better case scenario. Sometimes you just don't really know until you see the storms form. But certainly those better ingredients have been to the west. There's been a number of tornadoes out there. So I don't know if you have any last second thoughts on that before we close it out here.
Yeah, I would pretty much agree. You know, the days leading up into this, we could kind of tell that that enhanced risk, at least, was going to be pretty close by. Then it started to shift to the north a little bit. You had that moderate risk introduced. We kind of knew things were going to be worse off there to our northwest. But just kind of within the last day would, I think, be the soonest that we were able to tell, okay, maybe we're kind of going to be able to dodge this one to an extent. Not saying everybody's going to dodge it there. Someone's probably going to end up with a pretty breezy storm. But considering the alternative, had that line stayed uniform and all together, we could have at least 60-mile-an-hour winds all north and south all across the area. And maybe we're just going to end up with one tiny little corner of the area that gets that. So yeah, definitely kind of trending more towards that floor, but definitely wanted to still get the message across that the ceiling is high, because it's not like this forecast flopped. It just stayed out there to the west, which we kind of wanted it to and thought that it might end up doing. So that's kind of the mentality when it came to forecasting that. Knew there was a chance for things to get pretty dicey, but thankfully things are not quite looking that direction as it seems right now, Jacob.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks so much for that, Seth. And again, while some of us maybe are thinking, oh, this is going to be a huge event, it's been a big problem in Iowa. There's been some towns that have been devastated by tornadoes, and that may still be a problem in northwest Illinois, eastern Iowa there. The yellow counties are the tornado watch. We've got Cass and Morgan County included in that. A new severe thunderstorm warning west of St. Louis. So these storms might trend down the I-70 corridor along and south of I-72. These storms might trend a little bit more north, so some of us may squeeze on by without much at all. Others of us may still have some problems here. If one of the storms comes your way, that could be an issue. We're going to walk through the storms and the forecast and again talk more about those impacts in a second, but I believe we've got Kevin out there. And so let's see if we get the storm tracker popped up here, and we'll toss to him in a second, Seth. You can stick on his mic, and I'll go ahead and hear him too. Let's see here. Looks like maybe I messed that up. Seth, go ahead and pull his storm tracker in full screen for me real quick. And we can take a peek at that. Kevin, there you are. Got a little sun in your eye there, Kevin. Looking good. Tell us where you are, what you're seeing.
Well, I've been running around parts of southeast Iowa for a good part of the afternoon. And now I'm actually in Tennessee, Illinois. You've ever heard of Tennessee, Illinois? Because I sure have not. Until like
say that town again, Kevin. You said you're in what town?
I was in Tennessee, Illinois, about a minute ago.
Tennessee, Illinois? Like the state of Tennessee?
Yeah, like the state of Tennessee.
That's a river town, I'm pretty
Tennessee,
sure.
Illinois.
Isn't that up there past Toledo a little bit, maybe? Southwest of there? I'm not sure where that's at, to be honest. Where's it at?
Well, it was just southwest of Macomb. So towards Carthage, because there was a storm that was heading in that direction that was tornado warned. I don't know if you can pull up Carthage on the that is my location, heading towards Carthage there. Watching that storm that's
Okay, I tell you what, we're kind of losing Kevin a little. We're kind of losing Kevin a little bit. So, Kevin, you're cutting in and out on us a little bit. We figured out, though, where you are. We can see on the map here, you are southwest of Macomb, and now I can hear you perfectly. You're kind of in a little bit of a hilly area. Looks like there's a river nearby, Tennessee there, west of Macomb. You're heading towards Carthage, is that right?
heading towards Carthage. I'm watching those storms come out of northeast Missouri, and man, you talk about probably one of the worst radar areas in this entire region, because you're in between you know, Davenport and Des Moines and Lincoln. This kind of far western, just north of Quincy, is a rough radar coverage area, so it's tough to kind of see what's going on in the radar. But there were a few storms that are coming out of far northeast Missouri that I was just keeping an eye on here that might track in. They've got some severe thunderstorm warnings. They did have some tornado warnings, and so just kind of watching that. Pretty wild how isolated the storms are now compared to earlier when there was a huge line. Yeah, that's what we kind of got going on here. So just kind of paying attention to that. Looks like they got another confirmed tornado that's up northwest of Davenport now. So Iowa just getting slammed today with tornadoes.
And Kevin, I know you're kind of moving through. One of the things we talked about was, is this going to be a big line coming through? Will things break apart, be more isolated? Talk to us a little bit about what the more isolated mode of these storms west of Quincy might do.
Well, with these being a little bit more discreet, they're going to at least pose a little bit more of a hail threat potentially with them, and I think that's what some of the warnings have been for. Some winds as well. Earlier in the day when they were discreet, they were spinning up some tornadoes. Not sure if that's still going to be the case. There is that tornado watch in effect still for pretty much where I'm located here in far west central Illinois. We'll see what we can see here with these storms, but they even seem to be kind of weakening out a bit. But then you got the stuff down towards St. Louis. Yeah, we'll see if that kind of holds together. But largely right now, we have missed out on the north end, the south end, and everything in between. But we'll have to continue to watch it and see what we see here. But I'm coming into Carthage here in the next few minutes. Carthage, Illinois, far west central Illinois. It is northeast of Quincy. So I will admit this is a neck of Illinois I have not been around before over here this far west and this far. I mean, basically it's going to be where Iowa, Missouri, and Illinois all kind of meet one another. It's literally the corner of that. So those are the storms we're going to watch as they cross over the mighty Mississippi here in the next 20 minutes.
Yeah, Kevin, sounds good. And we will keep an eye on your shot there. You're coming into Hancock County. And I've got on the map here, Kevin, showing folks where you are. There's Macomb, there's Keokuk, Iowa, kind of in the middle there between Macomb, Keokuk, and Quincy. And you can see some of those storms off to the west. Kevin, are you seeing some of the clouds in front of you from this storm? Is that something that's popping up?
So those would be to my right, which I can't show you right now because it is a little bit more, surprisingly, a little bit more forested through here, at least on this road that I'm on. I'm actually on, am I on 136? Or?
You are on 136, yeah. So you turn around, you can get all the way back to Hayworth and come through Fisher and Rantoul and keep going that way if you wanted to. There's your drive home for you.
There's my drive home. There we go. Not looking forward to that one. But we're going to see what these storms do as they come across. I'm hoping to be able to peel off here and look more to the south and west to be able to see those storms there. I think they're still kind of weakening there. The one behind it is looking a little bit stronger. There's kind of two little cells there, and so that one looks a little bit better. So we'll see. They're tracking to the northeast here. Oh, and if I can just get a clearing, and maybe there's a road up here. I'm going to see what this road is. Maybe I can turn to the right, and then we'll be pointing directly into the storm. So let me see here.
Well, I tell you, the other thing I like about your shot too, Kevin. The other thing I like about your shot, I think the clouds kind of in the shot we see, are those the anvil clouds with the sun coming underneath them? You might get some pretty color in the sky here in a little bit.
Yeah, I think so too. Let me see where I've gone. I hope I don't lose the signal with you guys, but I at least wanted to try to point this back to the north. Or, I'm sorry, to the south and west here.
Yeah, I see that road you turned on there, kind of rural and whatnot. I kind of looked at that storm too, Kevin. Ahead of you in Carthage on the east side, right before you get into town, the 4-lane turns south and you turn onto State Route 94. That'll carry you all the way into Quincy, so that's a good south road for you. That 94 turns into 172 there, which can be your other way home. Come down 72 back into the area. And of course, for you, Kevin, out there, we've been having dust problems here in Central Illinois. Have you been having any dust out that way?
Yeah, actually, I've noticed it several times today, and again, it was near where farmers were out in their fields doing their thing. So, I mean, again, it's that time of the year. but I definitely encountered it several times today with the farmers working out there and doing. Now, it was never to the point to where I was at zero visibility or anything crazy like that, but there's definitely a period of time when we could see the dust kind of blowing across. So, all right, let me see at the top of this hill. I don't know if we can really see anything. Boy, I can't believe how there are a lot of trees out here. I was hoping for a little bit more open plains, but
from the looks of it, Kevin,
trees.
From the looks of it, if you go a couple of miles back west and drop south, it's all farm country there down towards Bentley and West Point and Lorain, Mendon. So you're just right on the edge of it, a little bit more west and then eventually south, and you'll see some more of those. We call it God's country, I think, in these parts with the plains there. So there's the tip for you. Are you still going west right now? Is that the case? Did you turn north?
No, I'm gonna turn back around here. I'm gonna swing back around so we can. So yeah, let me get repositioned here, and then I'll come back to you here in a second.
All right, we'll check back in with you here in a second, Kevin. I think we're going to talk a little severe weather, and maybe you get to a better spot for us. So with that, thanks for your reports, keeping us updated out there. And with that, Kevin, there's a shot. He's going to turn around and get into place with us. So let's jump back in here, take over for you. So what are we dealing with right now? And Seth, I'm going to come to you in a minute because you've got those storms that are up there towards St. Louis with those warnings that are in place. And so we'll look for that. Again, that tornado watch is for Cass and Morgan County. Seth will cover this line right here. That's probably an I-70 issue, maybe along south of 72. Not all of it is warned, but we'll keep an eye on that. These storms here is where Kevin's at. Kevin's out here. Going to watch these storms come on. Maybe they can keep just north. But my suspicion is if these storms turn stronger, there's a chance they may take a little bit more of a right turn. And so that'll be something that we watch and see if that happens. That could bring it a little closer into our viewing area, especially with a south and southwest wind in place. That could be a problem. Other than that, confirmed tornado, I-80 west of the Quad Cities, a large, extremely dangerous tornado reported with this supercell thunderstorm. And Walcott is right here. That's the big truck stop, the I-80 truck stop, so it's just a little bit west of there. And then you can also see here this pink outline. That's a severe thunderstorm warning northwest Illinois up by Galena, Freeport, and towards Clinton, Iowa for some 80-mile-per-hour winds. They've been getting hit hard to the north and west, and a number of tornado warnings in Madison, Wisconsin, right up I-39 towards Wisconsin Dells. A lot of tornado warnings in that general area. I-90, Wisconsin Dells sits right here. That'd be I-39 towards Warsaw. There it is, right here. Some tornado warnings there. But so far, for our neck of the woods, things have been looking okay. Now, Seth, I'll bring you back in. You've been keeping an eye on those southern storms. That's kind of in your home territory. Mm-hmm. You're from Effingham County, and so you're going to focus there. I'll kind of watch north, and Kevin will do his thing. Tell us more about what you're seeing.
Yeah, I just kind of been keeping an eye on this one because on some of our future track models, which I'll show you the one I'm referring to here in just a moment, we've kind of been seeing, this thing play out to where maybe it's not widespread, but we kind of have something down here to the south. I'm willing to guess this is the thing that was picking up on there, just kind of this line of maybe strong thunderstorms, but not severe, warned all the way up and down. You just have one warning there west of St. Louis down 64, south of O'Fallon here at the moment. But as you can see, this is on its way to us eventually, and plenty of severe storms behind it. You just see a pretty big warning box pop down there in the bottom left, closer to central Missouri, so we'll keep an eye on that as well. But just kind of wanted to play this out, kind of give it the little squall there. I believe these storms are moving around 40 miles an hour, so just kind of taking that line there and playing the rest of it out. These are where you're going to expect to see some of those storms at some point in time, and I know some of the locations seem to be just a little off there. I think it's extrapolating it, moving a little farther to the north, so that way you don't have a bunch of town names crashing into each other. But that will actually be in the St. Louis area there, or at least near the Edwardsville area by 8:25. St. Louis itself around 10 minutes after 8 o'clock. I know that there's I have plenty of buddies that live in St. Louis. There's a Cardinals game down there right now, so if you know anybody that's out there, kind of let them know that things might get a little stormy there in just a little bit of time. But you can see maybe it takes a while for stuff to get here. Highland after 8:45, Hillsborough closer to 9 o'clock. So we're kind of seeing things play out a little later in the time period for us, but I just wanted to kind of take a look at things overall at the storm, getting ready to kind of head right over the radar dome there outside of the St. Louis area. You can see there's are some winds on this one. Doesn't look like anything's jumping off the page incredibly here yet, but with some of these lines, you just got to be careful, kind of watch them as they go to make sure there's not any kind of circulation starting in those, so kind of keeping a close eye on that. Here's one St. Louis camera. It's actually looking off there to the west. You can see things are obviously pretty windy there. Can't see too much structure in the distance at the moment. We'll kind of watch as those storms head on in, kind of see what they look like as they approach on in. And now finally, I'll talk about that future track I was referring to here just a moment ago. Doing a good job of picking up on storms up there to the northwest, but as we play it out in time here, you can see that cluster maybe just a little farther north on this version of it there than the one we saw earlier. But we can see maybe one little band of storms wants to kind of move on in here in the evening hours, but does not appear to be anything on the widespread side of things. So definitely keep your guard up, but we might just be watching here a select area as we go throughout the rest of the night tonight. And hopefully that's all that it plays out. Hopefully that line out there, if we have to deal with one severe storm, we have to deal with one severe storm. But I think we would definitely take that trade considering what everyone else is seeing off to our north and west, Jacob.
Yeah, so we're keeping an eye on all that. We should talk through future track and whatnot. I'm going to kind of walk through it again. One thing we like to do is also analyze how future track is looking compared to what's actually happening. So you can see you back this out a little bit. And overall, it's doing a pretty good job with where the placement of storms is. With some of those more isolated storms there where Kevin's heading towards, we'll check back in with him here in a few minutes. But the storms are building all the way down into Oklahoma here. And there's actually, I was just looking northwest of Little Rock, Arkansas, a couple of tornado warnings. It looks like they was in the Conway, Arkansas area. So there's severe weather from Wisconsin all the way south. And there's even on the tail end down here in Texas, future track picking up in a couple of those supercells where there's a severe thunderstorm warning. That's down close to Abilene, Texas. Big system coming on through. So I think this is doing a pretty good job with the timing of things for us here. And I'll pull it a little wide so we can look and see what happens. But as we move on through, let me change this feature real quick, get rid of that, and widen it out. You'll see what happens is there still are some storms, but there almost is a little break that's forming, and we've kind of been seeing that already show up. So it's future track's been teasing of that. Doesn't mean all of us are getting storms. It means some of us still are, but you can see here 9, 10 o'clock, some of us likely getting some storms. Others of us might end up dry with this event. There may be an attempt at some redevelopment along the cold front coming through. I don't think it's going to amount to much. I think this main event's this line coming through, so 11 to midnight towards I-57, and it just doesn't stand out to me as a huge problem. But we're still going to be here because it takes one storm having an issue as it comes on through. And you'll see here 2 a.m. There's still some big problems. Probably some big windstorms down south of Effingham, just outside our area. That's good news. I know we've got some folks that watch us down near Olney and down south of Robinson. There's still maybe some issues elsewhere with these storms for a while longer. So I'll back it up. One of the things that happens is our best energy aloft is located to the north and west. So these storms are almost outrunning them perhaps a little bit, and that may help. And two, we're also seeing heating of the day disappear. Sun's going down now. When that happens, you're not getting instability like we were this afternoon. Temperatures are cooling, and that can sometimes help almost put a lid on the atmosphere. It's still boiling under there. Your pot of water in the stove still boiling, but it may take some time for that to cool off entirely, and so we still can't rule out some of the storms as they come on through. And then, kind of sneaking ahead, I'm a little suspicious that tomorrow may be another day where we don't have to worry about a whole lot here. Probably going to watch storms in the afternoon to the south and west. That may be a southern Illinois problem. It might be close to I-70 here. We'll see how things fare with that, but that certainly is something that we are watching. Again, the Storm Prediction Center risk here, not a whole lot of change with that. We have that moderate risk in northwest Illinois. That's a 4 out of 5 in the scale. You don't get a lot of days like that, and they certainly have earned their badge for that across Iowa and now to northwest Illinois. A 3 in orange. That includes Watseka, Pontiac, Gibson City, Monticello, Decatur, Springfield, Jacksonville, Lincoln, Bloomington, off to the south and west, Carlinville, and down towards Calhoun County, Illinois. Slight risk then, Taylorville, Mattoon, Charleston, Champaign-Urbana, Danville, Paris, Effingham, Petersburg, home of Kevin Leidy, and then that green is a marginal risk. What this tells us here is the later we go and the more south and east storms move, again, there's not as much good ingredients in place. We got a couple things helping us, so we're expecting to see, in general, a weakening trend, which might mean storms become still maybe a few severe storms, but instead of being more numerous or scattered, maybe they trend a little more isolated with south and east extent. But still, we look at that. We showed you future track. That tornado risk We're going to keep it where it is, hold on to it. For many of us, it's between a 3, 4, and a 5 across central Illinois. It's been higher off to the north and west. And again, 3 in green. That includes Champaign, Decatur, Shelbyville, Mattoon. It's a 5 for Springfield, Clinton, Bloomington, Pontiac. It's a 6 in orange and 8 there. You can see how quickly we go from a 6 in Peoria to a 3 in Champaign to a 1 just past Danville as you cross into Indiana. So that general trend where maybe we get a few storms still can act up here towards Peoria, but as we get later, we're just not seeing those ingredients line up as much. Still wind. Everyone says, hey, tornado. That's what we're focused on. That's what we're looking at, right? That's the big problem. Not the biggest problem for us here. It's actually the biggest problem is the wind with these storms. If we get some storms that come through, gusty winds, those highest winds northwest of I-55, but as they weaken slowly with time, we can still get a few storms with 65-mile-an-hour gusts possible in this red area and some 60-mile-an-hour gusts there. That's not out of the question. And sometimes storms don't follow lines and follow colors here. You can have a real strong, one single strong storm end up going through that, slicing by, but in general, trying to show that further east, weakening with time, and so that's something that we will continue to keep an eye on with that. So with that, again, let me talk about what's coming up tonight. It's through 3, 4 in the morning. The tomorrow risk, low, it's only a marginal risk. We get lots of those, and things don't always happen with that. We'll get that graphic back up for you. This is tomorrow. See that marginal? Maybe I-70. I'm not very enthusiastic about those chances either. Seems like, same thing that happened a week or so ago, storms were bad out west. They were bad to the north. They were bad to the east. They were bad to the south. And we kind of missed out here in central Illinois. That may be evolving for us again with this particular pattern, but still, we'll keep an eye on tomorrow. If something were to materialize, we'll be there. And then I know a lot of folks also asking about the holiday weekend. We got to watch storms on Friday as a possibility. And then we get the Memorial Day weekend forecast, and that's going to pop up here in a second. Because storms are now looking more Friday, that maybe spares Saturday. Maybe that's going to end up being a good day for some boating, getting out, enjoying the long holiday weekend, mostly sunny, 78. I wouldn't rule out a couple stray storms somewhere. We'll keep an eye on the timing of things, but it seems like Friday and then Sunday days to watch, with even on Memorial Day, Monday, some scattered storms still a possibility there. We look at the SPC's risk. They have highlighted areas south of I-70 for Sunday under a slight risk. We may see something get introduced Friday nearby, so we'll watch, but certainly an active pattern with storm chances in there. This is the thing that probably is most baffling about it all. It has been wet. We've had a lot of rain. So the fact that we're dealing with dust storms and things of that, well, it gets really hot. That's going to happen. The top inch of soil is going to dry out. Wind's going to blow. That's what you're asking for. But we got more rain on the way here. You get these next rounds over the next 7 days. Probably another widespread 1+ inches. Some local areas of 2 to 3 can't be ruled out. And that's not just here in Central Illinois. That's the entire state. That'll depend on where exactly those storms go, how things end up. But that certainly is something that we're going to keep an eye on. So with that, Seth, I'm going to send it back to you, and then I'm going to bring Kevin back on. So Seth, you've got that tornado watch. Any updates for us on that?
Yeah, just kind of going to provide more of an overview here on what's to be expected here over the next couple of days. Just kind of wanted to bring in the current conditions, kind of what we're seeing right now, what we're kind of dealing with. Obviously, tornado watch across a lot of western Illinois. Cass and Morgan included in that right now, just on the very edge of that. So our area itself is kind of dodging the worst of it here at the moment. We'll kind of see how things progress, kind of listening to what the St. Louis office is saying there, the National Weather Service office, kind of just listening to what they're telling us as these storms kind of move on through, considering advancing a few severe thunderstorm warnings this direction. So we'll kind of keep an eye on that. That's your tornado watch. Also want to bring up that dust storm warning again. Don't want to forget about that one just yet. The current time is right about 8 o'clock itself. So this is theoretically set to expire in 15 minutes. We'll see if they extend anything on that. Haven't seen a whole lot going on there in the Lincoln chat about whether or not we can expect that. So we'll kind of just keep an eye out for things. One thing we do know, the rain not going to be here immediately, so it's not like the rain is going to wash away these dust storm warnings at the moment. And we're just kind of watching things from the Springfield camera looking off to the west. It looks like that we've got some visible rain there way off in the distance, or at least something that's blocking out the sunset. So kind of watching things out that way as well. And again, here's our radar picture. Maybe that Springfield camera picking up on the very north end of that kind of that line of showers and storms. As we've gotten closer and closer closer to seeing these storms arrive on in. Doesn't look like they're quite as packed together as well as what they may have been at one point, but we'll still kind of see what's in store for us as that line moves on in. There's some stuff behind it, some more interesting action, some of these more individualized cells, which is something that we want to avoid. So it's nice to see that behind this line that we're seeing here, because you can see how far advanced those warnings are. I think I even heard the St. Louis office saying that these are moving much more quickly than the line out in front of it. So glad we don't have to deal with any kind of fast-moving storms here. Hopefully just those lines kind of move on in, maybe some weak breezes, and that's pretty much it. But just kind of touch up on some stuff that Jacob just mentioned. Again, here's your Storm Prediction Center outlook for the rest of the night tonight. As you can tell, things expected to get a little weaker as they advance to the south and east. That's today's risk. There is the potential maybe for something to happen tomorrow. That looks very low end. It does not look like a slam dunk whatsoever, but I-70 does find themselves in that marginal risk, because if this front takes a little while to move on through, you can still kind of keep the atmosphere, kind of keep the table set a little bit there as far as that goes. You can see our atmospheric fuel is present tonight, but as we move on into tomorrow, maybe just the tail of it there is available in the southeastern corner of the area, but you can see some of these darker greens, some of these yellows here off into the corner in parts of Indiana, even parts of Kentucky there. That's probably where the higher risk is going to end up being, so we're probably likely to at least avoid seeing much in the way of that. And here's a look at your future track to kind of see how things play out there on Wednesday afternoon. Maybe we get a storm to kind of graze us down there from the south. Maybe a place like Altamont gets in on that, maybe Effingham as well. We're just going to have to wait and see. Again, these models are not silver bullets by any means. This is not exactly what's going to happen, but just kind of the idea that we're seeing here. So really just kind of tracking those storms around the St. Louis area here at the moment for any kind of immediate impact, even though it'll take a little while for it to get here. But at the moment, Jacob, looks like there's anything too urgent out there for now, but we'll, of course, continue to watch things over the next couple of hours.
Yeah, that's right. So we want to keep you aware and keep you informed here about what's going on. First off, many of you probably know our WCI3 weather app. We talk about it often. We talk about the severe threat. If you are interested, you can take a little QR code right here, and there should be a link in the comments that you're watching from. You can download that, get more information on it. The other thing I would say is this right here. This is Weather Call, and that's something I want to spend a minute to talk about here. Weather Call is a great resource for us here. This is a different service than the app. I take my cell phone with me. I go places, it follows me, it gives me alerts. What about someone who maybe doesn't have a cell phone, or they don't like them, or it's confusing? Maybe they want a landline. Maybe there's a business with a fixed location. Something like that. This is a great service for that. So we got, what do we name this dog, Seth? Do we have a name for it?
I don't know. I wasn't the one to name it, so I'm not sure.
Stormy?
Sure. Yeah, Stormy. Stormy the dog.
So we got a dog there. This is your house, whatever the case is. If this is where you live, let's say you're at home, or maybe you're someone with an elderly relative who doesn't have internet or doesn't rely on that and just wants a good old phone call. What will happen is tornado warning is issued. What's going to happen is that covers your house. So you're in the tornado warning polygon. Of course, we're jumping on TV. If my cell phone's there, I'm going to get a notification. But what about a landline phone? This is a service that we can call, and it allows us to call you during tornado warning, tornado watch, severe thunderstorm warning, flash flood warning, and you can customize some of those variables for that here. So people in that warning, and not outside of it, not getting in the warning polygon, location specific, are going to get a phone call. Kevin's going to say, hey, there's a rotating storm coming your way. You need to seek shelter and things of that. And so you'll hear his voice talking. He'll talk about that and whatnot for those folks that are in there. So the phone rang. It lets you know something's happened. Let's say it escalates. Now it's a confirmed tornado. There is a tornado on the ground. You're going to get a second phone call notifying you of that, saying, hey, confirmed tornado coming. Hopefully by that point, the first phone call, you've already started to watch TV, get other sources of information, but it will send you a second phone call to only phones, landline phones, or even cell phones with that fixed location. If you take your cell phone outside of it, you're still going to get a call because you put in your address for this particular service. It's a great resource to have. And when the tornado warning is extended somewhere else, new phone calls are going to go out. We think it's a great resource targeting businesses. I mean, you think of schools, something with a fixed location. It's $12 a year is all. A minor cost. A weather radio will cost you $35-40. And so that's something to see. And so if we get a tornado warning, it's a great way. Also, how about at nighttime? You know, my phone doesn't always wake me up, but if I get a phone call, that's going to wake me up. That's going to alert me to what is going on and what is happening. And so that's the way we can get informed with that. So if you're interested, scan this QR code, click the link, and we think it's a great resource to have. Okay, Kevin, before we go to you, we did just get a severe thunderstorm warning in effect, so I'm going to switch to that, and then Kevin, you're next. We'll come back to you and see what you're doing here. This is for part of our area, and so now we've got in our viewing area a dust storm warning, a severe thunderstorm warning, and a tornado watch that's in place here. So with that, we'll put it to now. This is going to be for the Jacksonville area, severe thunderstorm warning in effect. That is going to be, get some data up here for you. It's going to include the city of Jacksonville, a good chunk of Morgan County, mainly a wind threat, it seems like, coming here. That's eventually going to carry in the direction of Springfield. That's what Seth was showing you earlier. And he'll give us that camera again and walk us through that. That goes until 8:30 p.m. 60-mile-per-hour winds and some hail, less than an inch expected. So the next 25 minutes, we'll see how that evolves. It may be gusting out a little bit, but the interesting thing is, if you signed up for Weather Call and your location is inside this box, and you said, yes, I want calls for severe thunderstorm warning, guess what? You're getting a call for this particular warning there in Morgan counties as that storm moves on through. Just a quick check at the wind. There's probably some wind in there. It looks like along 72. The other thing I'll say is that perhaps some of this wind may cause some blowing dust problems. We get wind gusts to pick up back to 50, 60 miles per hour, so that'll be something to look forward to. So we will see if that happens and see how that evolves. All right, Kevin is next. We'll get his storm tracker shot up here, then Seth, I'll go to you after that. Kevin looks like he is getting that camera shot updated. Wow, okay. There's Kevin right there. And is Kevin online now, Seth? He's up?
Looks
Kevin?
like it, yeah. We'll put him up.
What are you looking at? How you doing?
What's up, guys? So you're looking at the storm there that is now going to be kind of that is in there to cut ties with that, and I am making the turn back towards Jacksonville. And so instead of cutting down through Quincy, I am going to basically kind of cut my way through, going down towards Meteorologists and Mount Sterling, and going to try to pop back on there on 72. So I'm just kind of making my way back around here. We'll see if we can see with that storm and maybe try to follow it back there. But I got a little ways to go to try to catch back up with that thing, being as far north as I was. But it was actually showing a shorter trip to go this way than to swing all the way down to Quincy and come through. So I'm kind of cut diagonally through, and so I'll start to see the backside of that storm before too long. So I lost my audio with you guys, so I'm probably coming into a bad area. So I will see. It looks like we're rolling into the town of Bowen, Illinois, population 550.
All right, Kevin, we see you now. We see where you're at with that. So you are good, and he can't hear us anymore. So Seth, I think this is the time for... Oh, he can hear us now. Okay. So I was about to say, Kevin, you can hear us now. We were just going to poke some fun at you and say some nice things about you. Bowen, that's you're heading down south.
Yeah.
Are you heading back towards Rushville? Is that the plan?
Yeah. So it was showing for me to kind of cut through, basically down. I'm going to be kind of.
Okay, I tell you what, we're not going to have much more of Kevin there. So, Kevin, I think we lost you. He's moved to the forest and the woods. We'll follow him here. Whether he goes towards Rushville or Mount Sterling, one of those two ways, he'll be sneaking his way back in. It shouldn't be long before he gets back into the area, so we'll check in. There's the last shot that we had with him out there. So, Kevin, thanks for what you're doing. If you could still hear us, we can't hear you anymore, but I know you're in some rural parts of there. Okay, Seth, I'm going to put you on. You're on, let's see here. There you are.
Yep.
We're keeping an eye now, severe thunderstorm warning for Morgan County. I was just reading there was a 65-mile estimated wind gust with this storm in Scott County, and that's the storm that you're seeing. Talk to us more some of the latest information you have.
Yep, so just kind of taking a look at our Springfield camera just off here in the distance. I know when you initially brought that warning on, had all the lightning on the screen, and you could barely even see the storm underneath all that lightning, and that's kind of what we're seeing off here to the south and west in the distance. You can kind of see where the horizon is a little darker there. That's kind of the core of our storm. You can see occasional lightning every now and then, like you just saw a moment ago, and some more clearing the more north you go. So we're kind of going to watch and see how things play out. Nice little light show there in the distance on our Springfield camera, but just kind of bringing up the radar picture here. And uh-oh, looks like I did this in reverse order here. Let's go back a slide. I think that's where I last put it. We'll look at the, there we go, the radar picture with the updated information on it. Again, this one warned for 60-mile-an-hour winds, maybe gusting just a little stronger than that. And the hail still less than severe size there. That is about a quarter, little less than a quarter size there on your hail. But we'll watch as this one kind of moves north of I-72, probably impacting parts of southern Jacksonville at the moment, even into Clements eventually, on its way into northwestern Sangamon County. Likely this portion of the warning is probably going to glance to the north and west of Springfield here within the next 30 minutes to 45 minutes here or so. So we'll watch things off there to the northwest as this one continues to approach. But even as you can kind of see things moving on through, this doesn't look significant on our radar picture, not one of the more eye-appealing severe thunderstorms that we've seen before. But we'll, of course, continue to monitor that as it is our lone warning here in the area, and it's also kind of around that system that is likely to impact us to some degree later on the night. Whether or not this is the extent of what we see kind of remains to be seen, but we're kind of watching that cluster move on through. This is kind of the far northern part of that with some more storms down there in the southern end, so we will continue to monitor that. But right now doesn't look like anything crazy or significant here, but we will of course notify you if that changes. Jacob, you got anything new back over there?
Yeah, I'm just kind of following up on some information and whatnot. Seth, if you can, I'm going to bring it full screen. Can I have you take over for just a minute?
Yeah, of course.
Here? Give me a second to pull that off. Maybe struggling a little bit, leaving you hanging there.
No, that's all right.
There we go. There's that. What do we have on 8? 8 is Kevin. Go ahead and switch 8 to Max 1 real quick, and then mute my mic. I'm going to go in the newsroom and take care of a couple of things with some information that I'm getting. So you go ahead and take over for a minute. I'll be right back.
Sounds good. Alrighty, everybody. Thanks for keeping here. We're continuing to monitor some severe weather in the area, or at least one severe storm. We'll back things out here just a little and take an overview of the current situation. Up here to the north, that's where the bulk of the problems are. My goodness, look up and down that line up there to the north. I'll go ahead and throw on the full radar picture, not just the local one. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different tornado warnings up there in parts of Wisconsin. So very, very thankful to not have to deal with any of that. That just looks like a absolute headache up that direction. We are dealing with some of our storms down here. We'll go ahead and put on our radar down here closer to us, and we can see again what I was talking about earlier, that parent system that is providing that severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Morgan County. You can just kind of see the entire line segment there. Not super organized by any means. This doesn't look like anything crazy at the moment, but of course that can always change as we move ahead in time here. Just kind of watching that one outside of St. Louis here at the moment. Looks like it's kind of outrun its warning there to a degree, as you can see the box now behind where those storms are at. So we'll kind of see how things evolve there. One thing I'm curious about as well, I'll bring it up here just real briefly. It is currently 8:13 seconds away from being 8:14 p.m. And the reason that is significant is because our dust storm warning, that was in effect until 8:15. And we'll get that to pop up here. There we go. So that is technically set to expire in the next 60 seconds. I am not entirely sure what the National Weather Service's opinion is on whether or not they're going to extend that, but we will pretty much be able to tell here in the next 60 seconds, regardless of whether or not there is or is not a warning in place. We do not think things are just going to magically calm down. There's still probably some blowing dust in portions of the area that we'll need to watch out for, especially as those severe storms rolling in, like Jacob mentioned. So definitely want to stay on top of that. I'm going to keep it on this graphic for just another 30 seconds or so. We'll see those warnings promptly disappear. We'll kind of just stick on them there for just another moment or so to see if there's any kind of extension going on or any kind of continuation with that. Also catching a couple of questions here in the comments about parts of Sangamon County there as far as the severe weather impacts. I will get to that here in just a moment. There's nothing urgent on its way in the next couple of minutes there, so that's why we'll just kind of keep it on this graphic for just a moment. 5 seconds away, and we'll see things potentially magically disappear. Not really sure how real time the reaction is, and it's super real time because there it goes, completely wiped off the map. For now, we'll check in on that and see if it manages to get extended. But for the moment, looks like the dust storm warning is gone. But again, that's not any kind of magical declaration. These warnings obviously have to be assigned some sort of time for them to end. Even if they do end, that does not mean things are completely good or that we need to let our guard down. So we'll keep an eye out for that, see if they decide to extend that. It looks like it says in there, so we do have some sort of extension. Let's bring up that graphic again here real fast and just kind of see what's the, I think they changed the definition of it. Okay, so that, you can see the color changed a little bit. I'm gonna have to edit this graphic here to reflect what we're seeing, so just bear with me for a moment while I kind of narrate what's going on while also multitasking and getting this. So they changed it. It's now a blowing dust warning, which does not change much of the message as far as what to expect, but it is now a blowing dust warning as opposed to a dust storm warning. So I'd be willing to guess that is more so just kind of a warning that there obviously is blowing dust, but it's not super intense, zero visibility, probably just some minor nuisances out there. So we'll update that graphic. That is until midnight, so that just covers McLean, Logan, DeWitt, Macon, Piatt, and Champaign counties. That goes until midnight tonight. And like we said, there is a trickiness in that, and the fact that we are now in the nighttime period, and headlights going into dust are going to make it almost as if you are driving in fog there. So that's that blowing dust warning now, the technicality on that. Let's get you up to speed now on what's happening right here, right now, as far as our severe weather risk is concerned. We are taking a look just west of Springfield, east of Jacksonville, just outside of New Berlin, at a severe warned storm. Right now, things not looking incredibly, you can just kind of tell there's not a lot of red, there's not a lot of orange in that. It doesn't look particularly concerning. Got a few people asking about what this is going to do as it moves on into the Springfield area. It does look awfully windy, though. You see some of the whites on there. That roughly translates to, I want to say 60 plus miles an hour. Let me just click on one of the colors up here north of the warning so we don't get the warning. There's your velocity at 63 miles an hour. And that's a little high up in the radar's domain. It's aiming up. That's not surface winds by any means, but clearly enough going on up in the storm for that warning to be warranted. So we'll see if this thing intensifies as it gets a little closer. Let's exactly draw that out here. Let me get my actual reflectivity back up, or your classic radar picture there in plain speaking terms. So we'll see how fast this storm's moving. Right now it says moving northeast at 55 miles an hour, which is actually a lot faster than some of the other storms that we have seen here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my little tool that tells us where this storm's going to head. We'll set that to 55 miles an hour. And I will now grab the length of the storm, just kind of play it out to the northeast. For the next, we'll give it 30 minutes or so. And we can see exactly where certain places are expected to be impacted. So people asking about just kind of the Sangamon County area as we head on into the county there, as we pass through Waverly. That's going to happen within the next 3 minutes or so. So just get ready to hunker down and be ready for some strong winds within the next few minutes. Actually, in Springfield, it's going to be about another 30 minutes or so, so still got some time to prepare up that way. Same with the Chatham area, expecting that at around the same time. Should be getting ready to exit Sangamon County by the time we get close to the 9 o'clock hour. So for those wondering about that particular storm, that's what we're seeing at the moment. It doesn't have crazy good-looking structure on it, but as you saw, the winds are strong enough to certainly warrant that severe thunderstorm warning, at least for the next 30 minutes or so. So those are the locations we're expecting to be impacted. Let's get a live look there at our Skycam in Springfield. It's always nice to see when you can actually see the storm, it's always nice to check in there. That's kind of a neat look with the sunset underneath all the storm clouds there, kind of some rain on the right side of the screen, making things look a little translucent. But that's your storm getting ready to move on in to the Sangamon County area and into Springfield itself within the next 30 to 45 minutes. So just be prepared for some pretty gusty conditions and maybe some pretty electric conditions too. Lots of lightning inside these storms. So just get prepared for that. If you have any kind of loose outdoor objects, now is kind of the last call to going out pick those back up and make sure they're in, so that way we're not seeing anything just go flying across the yard there, and that is certainly possible with some of these stronger storms. Just kind of a recap on this storm complex itself. The storm of interest is on the very far northern end of this. It is the only warning at the moment, kind of becoming detached from the actual line of storms itself. But as we look on down to the south, there was once a warning there passing north of St. Louis. That warning is no longer there. So we are continuing to watch how this particular system unfolds. But right now, it just doesn't look too intimidating, this front line of storms. Behind it, maybe a different story, but as long as our storm in front here is kind of guiding the way, I don't think there's any kind of urgent issue with anything coming from behind there on that storm. Let's go ahead and toss on the lightning here real quick. We'll go ahead and freeze our image here and just look how much lightning is going on within some of these storms. I'm going to try something here. I hope it doesn't interfere with the severe thunderstorm warning box, but we'll just kind of we'll do that backwards here. We'll try that again real quick. That's what I want to do, but I didn't get that box dragged very much at all. So let's open up this whole storm, see how many lightning strikes are actually within it. And we can see here quite a bit going on within the last hour or so. A lot of those strikes, 127 in total, 78 of the negative ones, 49 of the positive ones. I do believe the positive ones are the ones that are a little more, I don't know, those are a little louder, a little more powerful there. So that's what we're seeing inside that storm. So pretty, going to be a nice little light show as we head on into the nighttime. That'll be neat to enjoy from that perspective, but of course, impactful weather nonetheless. But yeah, we're not really seeing anything too urgently intimidating here. I'm going to go ahead and pull on the future track. I think we have our hourly update here on our rapid refresh model, so we'll go ahead and take a look at that and see what that has in store with the current updates it has. Kind of doing a pretty good job of getting that storm west of Springfield, pretty much down to the T as far as the timing goes. Let's play this out, see what's to come still, maybe some more storm activity behind it. But not seeing anything crazy intimidating other than maybe that we could see some storm development there along I-70 late into the night tonight, or just from a heavy rain perspective. So we'll watch that, but right now definitely looks like we are closer to that milder solution than what we may have thought just even an hour or so ago. We're just going to kind of watch things from the Springfield camera here for a little bit, because this is a nice storm to watch roll on in, and it should be pretty nice to enjoy. I'm back here at the main weather center now, kind of looking through some of your guys' comments. People asking about particular locations. I've got Gloria asking about Mattoon. Mattoon is going to be fine here for the next hour, so I don't anticipate anything urgent with that. But there's nothing to say later on in the night. There might not be just a breezy storm or two, but it definitely, at this moment, does not appear to be anything out of control. Also got Stacy asking if Riverton is in the path. It definitely looks like it's going to get touched by that severe thunderstorm just a little bit. The extent of that, a little bit unknown there, but nothing really too urgent with that. It'll get a little windy. You might see the lightning pick up a little bit, but I don't think it'll be anything out of control. The storm looks more windy than it does I'm trying to think of the right verbiage to use here. It's more of a wind threat than it is kind of a tornado threat, at least the way things stand at the moment. So not really concerned about anything rapidly developing out of that. Benjamin asking about Christian County, same kind of situation. Eventually it'll get that direction, maybe the weaker southern end of it, so maybe not even severe weather that way. But we'll watch for that in the next hour or so. Even got Maddie asking about the Bloomington normal area. That's a good question. Let's. I'm going to switch off the Skycam here, and we'll just kind of take a look at some of those northern storms. Off the top of my head, I don't believe there's anything urgent up that way, but of course that's what I have my radar product for, so I can actually confirm that. So let's take a peek, and yeah, not seeing much up that direction here. A lot of it up there to the north in northern Illinois, but kind of in the sweet spot there. Bloomington normal is, as far as may not even end up with any rain here for the moment. So we'll see how that progresses. Got some more people asking. Got a lot of locations here. This storm itself is probably going to, this severe thunderstorm warning itself is probably going to ride down I-72 there for a little while over the next couple hours. Maybe it maintains its severe strength. We're not really 100% sure, but as the storm continues on its current trajectory, it's not out of the realm of possibility. It kind of rides up here past Springfield, even parts of northwest Decatur, kind of following 72 a little bit there. So that's kind of where it's heading. We also had one person that just asked about the dust update. Do want to bring that back into the picture here to kind of bring people up to date. And since I can see Jacob floating around back here now, the dust storm warning has been reworded now to a blowing dust warning. So they kind of kept it much the same, but don't really consider it to be a dust storm as opposed to an actual, just kind of blowing dust event. So that's the update on that. Kind of still seeing the same kind of impacts, even if it's on a lower scale. And yeah, so that's what we're kind of seeing right now. The verbiage has changed a little bit on that, but the message is pretty much still the same. So blowing dust as opposed to a dust storm warning, that is currently where things sit for now on that. Bring up the radar picture again here real fast. Got a couple people just asking about this severe storm that's moving on in eventually to the Springfield area.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw, maybe you said I stepped out for a second. NBS is going to let that warning drop.
Okay, yep, then yep, that doesn't surprise me. It didn't look like it was that well defined itself, but I did want to, now that you're in here, Jacob, this is a nice storm. Just kind of watch approach from the Springfield camera. Lots of lightning, and you can still see the sunset, I think, in the corner. Just kind of a cool little look there in the distance. Things stay very picturesque. These are kind of storms we don't mind, that don't harm us too much, but are very pretty to look at here as they come on in.
Yeah, so that's kind of what we're dealing with. Maybe if you want to, if you have my camera to be able to turn on.
There we go.
There we are. Cool. So I'll just kind of broaden out the view and take a look at what's going on here and throw all the pretty colors on there. At this point, I think if they issue a new watch, it might be a severe thunderstorm watch, and maybe for the southern half. But this big gap here looks very promising to me for a good number of folks. And with that storm there west of Springfield weakening, somebody at home is saying, storms come towards me and they split around my house. And I tell you what, this year it's been splitting around a lot of central Illinois recently, which is good news. We're okay with that. Particular risk. We kind of thought maybe that'd play out. We could sneak on through. Of course, the dust is still a concern. We're following up on reports from different areas on that, including 54. Just getting some new. Okay, so on 54, still closed by Mount Pulaski and Chestnut. There's been a crash there. We know there's injuries. We know there's multiple vehicles. We don't have a whole lot of details on that. So yeah, we'll kind of keep updated on what info we can get from that. Yeah, let's look up north here. First off, I hate to be up north. There are all these tornado warnings that are up there in Wisconsin. You hit from Rockford north, and it's almost a solid line of tornado warnings well into the heart of North Wisconsin there, with those warnings extending out. Soon it's going to be Milwaukee. Madison right now is getting hit really hard there. You can see a number of tornado warnings with these storms coming through there. Beaver Dam, Wisconsin, crossing 39 there, and then you get up to Warsaw. Tornado warnings up there in the northern edge of the line. I mean, that's way up north. This huge dynamic system. And there's tornado watches even down to the south. We've got even in Arkansas, Little Rock, some storms. This storm here is way down in the end of that cold front as well. And so a number of issues with this moving on through. So this warning, one warning we've got, going to expire. I mean, there'll still be some rain. There'll still be some thunder in central Illinois. Can you check my mic? Somebody said they can hardly hear me.
Well, I think we got to dive
Turn it up just a little bit.
Yeah, there we go.
That help a little bit.
I got it from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock now. So, that should be.
So we've got that one warning. We'll see here. I kind of like, Seth, that we're going on a path where we're hitting the floor again. We thought that there was a good chance that could happen. A risk doesn't always lead to a outcome. I know some of you at home, you probably know someone in your family where when they're in the kitchen, there's always a risk they're going to burn down the house. There's always a risk when this big systems come our way that there could be some storms. And this may be a scenario where perhaps we have a risk, but things evolve in a positive direction and we can miss out on that. So I don't know how you feel about that. We are 35 seconds away from that warning dropping. And so when that does, I think we're probably just going to sign off for a little bit, catch a breath.
I would agree.
Some programming notes, WCIA 3 News at 9 on WCIX. We'll have that. WCIA 3 News at 10, updates there. Seth and I are probably going to be here through the night. If something does develop, severe weather, if we're not in a newscast, we'll jump on digital and just kind of see how things go. But I kind of like the progression we're going, right? Can we count down? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There
Instant.
it is. Gone. So we have no severe weather warnings. As far as severe tornado goings, we have a tornado watch, Cass Morgan. Will it get extended at this point? Leaning no. Maybe they go severe thunderstorm watch for some gusty winds. But we'll check out the new SPC Outlook as well. That came out a few minutes ago. I did see that on my watch. There's the new Outlook. They did pull the enhanced down a little bit into our area, though, Seth.
Yeah, they did.
You can see that.
Yep. Took the moderate further northwest, but yeah, kind of dragged it down a little bit. We'll see how that plays out.
Obviously, if something does form, then I think there's ingredients there. But we're kind of seeing maybe that lid has been put on the pot for some of us. Same trend, southeast extent, storms would weaken. So we'll keep an eye on it here. I don't think this changes our messaging much. We're still kind of watching that evolve. And the colors aren't going to match. I'm just curious. The numbers aren't going to match here, but what the colors are, so there's still a 6. You know, that yellow got pulled a little bit, but with that enhanced risk, I'm not surprised. So I don't think there's a whole lot of change in the messaging for us here as we watch things materialize. So probably the big story today is going to be the dust again. That was an event a few weeks ago, wasn't it, Seth, where the dust took the lead and we didn't have much severe weather?
Yep. I can't remember how long ago that was, but yeah, just a few weeks
Early
ago.
May, was that?
Yeah, I believe you're right. So
May 8th,
it was
I think it was.
a little dusty, but yeah, kind of the.
So we'll see if there's any updates. Remember, WCI3 weather app will follow your location, can get an update if there's a watch extended. If we need to cut back on social media, we will. At this point, I like the way things look. I think maybe some of those trends pulling it a little more south and east was to account for some of the development there from St. Louis to the south and west. But hey, I like where things are heading. Still some rain, still some thunder. There will still be some wind. But you know, the risk can be there. But if you've got nothing that's really in place, then maybe that's good. And we can still see some development happen. That can still happen for us here. But I kind of like the direction that we're heading with things. But of course, our risk, we're early in the game. Things have happened where, hey, things have been quiet, and suddenly it gets a little bit worse with that moving forth. So that certainly is something that we'll keep an eye on. I'm going to close it with one last check on the Springfield camera here, Seth. Pop that up.
It's a very nice look right now. It's kind of picturesque there from the camera.
That's champagne. That's a boring view. Whoa, wow.
Hey, look at that.
That's pretty nice. So yeah, still gonna have the wind, still gonna have the dust, still be some thunder and lightning. Maybe we can scrape on through. But if not, we will be here. We're gonna take a break on digital platforms. It's about 8:30 now. We've been on for an hour 15 or so. We've had dust problems. We've had severe threat. We're gonna cover all that, keep you updated. And if need be, if we have storms coming in, say 10:35 or so, once we finish our newscast, something I might cut back on in. So we will keep you updated on that. Be sure and tune in for the newscast at 10 on CBS. Or catch us maybe later. If nothing's happening, we probably aren't going to do a whole lot of chit-chatting on the digital platforms. But we've been on a little bit. Ooh, that was a nice lightning strike there. We've been on a little bit, particularly because of the way that things have evolved with the dust storms. So that is what we're dealing with. All right. With that, have a great rest of your evening. We hope to not see you anywhere except for on your TVs at 9 and 10. But if something is a little bit more substantial, through the evening and into the night, we'll be here. We got you covered. And I think that tonight kind of helps to sweep things more south towards I-70. So I'm not too worried about tomorrow, but we'll take it one day at a time. Get this round through, and then we can look at the additional rounds for